Hello, friends. It's me. This is my dog. He is a Chow Chow, and he is a little shy, but a very sweet boy. And this is my cat. She is a Scottish fold, and she has a heart-shaped tail. We love looking out the window together. But today was a very special day. The rain was coming down in sheets, so it was too cold for us to go outside. So we stayed inside all day by the window. And right now, I want to read you a story about my two best friends. It was a long way from home. The old woman walked slowly along the narrow path, pushing her shopping cart with one hand while holding an umbrella over her head with the other. She had everything she needed for today in the basket of her cart: a can of food, some milk, and a new bag of cat litter. But as she rounded a corner, the wind suddenly knocked the umbrella from her grasp. The old woman watched helplessly as it tumbled through the air and landed in a puddle at the other side of the street. Now soaked and shivering in the sudden downpour, she hurried on, hoping to get home as quickly as possible. As she neared her house, she noticed a pair of large, luminous eyes staring at her from beneath a bush. Startled, the old woman jumped back, knocking over her basket and sending the cat food rolling into the mud. When she looked again, the cat had disappeared. She sighed and began picking up her things. She didn't want to make a fuss, but she couldn't help but worry about the poor creature. When she finally got home, the old woman hurried to open the door and let herself in out of the rain. Inside, she was greeted by a furry ball of energy. A large fluffy dog bounded toward her, tail wagging furiously. The Chow Chow licked her hand, then trotted off to his favorite spot in front of the fireplace. The old woman smiled and hung up her coat. Even after all these years, she still couldn't get used to how much joy the dog brought into her life. Just as she sat down to take off her shoes, a loud crash came from the window. The old woman went to investigate and gasped. There on the windowsill was a large ginger cat, shaking water off his fur. The old woman hurried over and opened the window. The cat jumped in and shook himself, sending droplets flying. Then he trotted over to the dog, who had gotten up and was watching him curiously. The cat rubbed against the dog's leg, purring loudly. The old woman smiled. She knew right then that these two were going to be the best of friends. The old woman went to fix the cat some food, while the dog followed close behind her, tail wagging. As she filled the bowl, the cat approached the window and began to pace back and forth. The old woman knew what he wanted, so she put on her coat and headed back to the window. The rain had stopped, and a rainbow stretched across the sky. The old woman pointed, and the cat followed her finger with his green eyes. Then he turned and rubbed against her leg. Before trotting out the door, the old woman chuckled and closed the window. The rest of the afternoon passed quickly. Soon it was time for the cat and the dog to go to bed. The old woman gave them each a final bowl of food, and then turned off the lights and tucked them in for the night. The dog curled up in his bed, and the cat climbed up onto the windowsill to watch the moon. The old woman smiled and went to her room, feeling grateful for her two furry companions. As the night wore on, the wind outside began to pick up, and rain began tapping gently against the glass. The Chow Chow sat staring out, his thick, fluffy mane damp from his walk earlier in the day. Beside him, the cat perched on the windowsill, pressing his paw to the cool, foggy glass. Together, they watched the storm roll in, silent companions in the grey afternoon. In the distance, thunder rumbled like a giant's distant roar, shaking the old house and making the cat's whiskers twitch. The Chow Chow remained calm, his dark eyes never leaving the raging storm outside. The old woman's house was nestled amongst tall trees, and as the wind picked up, the branches swayed wildly, creating eerie shadows that danced across the floor. The cat snuggled closer to the warm pane of glass, seeking comfort in the familiar rhythm of the rain. Each drop seemed to whisper a lullaby, a soft, steady beat that echoed the steady thump of his own purring. The Chow Chow shifted slightly, his massive head resting on his paws. He, too, found solace in the sound of the rain, a soothing melody that brought back memories of gentle streams and babbling brooks from his puppy days. As the hours passed, the storm reached its peak, and the wind screamed like a hungry wolf. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the world outside into a watercolor painting of grey and green. Yet inside the house, a sense of peace prevailed. The cat and the Chow Chow, two souls who had once roamed the streets alone, now shared a comforting silence, their differences forgotten in the face of the raging elements. The old woman slept soundly in her bed, unaware of the drama unfolding just beyond her window. In her dreams, she walked through fields of sunflowers, their faces turned towards the sun, their laughter echoing in the breeze. The scent of freshly cut grass filled her lungs, and the warmth of the summer sun bathed her skin. As the minutes ticked by, the storm began to subside, leaving behind a world washed clean and sparkling. The rain softened to a gentle patter, and the wind whispered secrets to the swaying trees. The clouds parted, revealing glimpses of a brilliant blue sky dotted with fluffy white clouds. A sliver of sunlight peeked through the window, illuminating dust particles dancing in the air. The Chow Chow lifted his head and let out a soft woof, as if to say, "See, the storm is past." The cat stretched languidly, his green eyes gleaming with newfound energy. He yawned, showing off his pink tongue and sharp little teeth, then leaped gracefully to the floor. The storm might have passed, but the day wasn't done yet. The cat and the Chow Chow had more moments of companionship to share, more games to play, and more adventures to dream up. For them, every day was a new journey, a chance to explore the world together. And as the sun peeked through the clouds, bathing the room in a warm glow, the old woman woke up smiling. She knew that no matter what storms they faced, her two furry companions would be by her side, bringing her unwavering love and endless joy. One day, the cat and the Chow Chow were playing by the window when they spotted a small bird that had flown into the garden. The bird was hopping around on the ground, unable to fly. The cat and the dog looked at each other, and without hesitation, they dashed out the door to help. They found the bird huddled under a bush, shivering and scared. The cat, with his gentle paws, carefully scooped the bird up and brought it back to the house. The Chow Chow followed close behind, licking the bird's feathers to dry them off. The old woman was surprised, but happy to see the two animals bringing the bird back. She took a towel and wrapped it around the bird, then placed it near the fireplace to warm up. Together, the three of them watched as the bird slowly regained its strength. After a few hours, the bird was good as new and ready to fly away. The cat and the dog were sad to see it go, but also happy knowing that they had helped. As the sun set and evening fell, the cat and the dog cuddled up together by the fireplace. They had been through so much together, and their bond was unbreakable. The old woman sat nearby, watching them with a smile on her face. She had never imagined that she would find so much joy and happiness in the company of two animals. But they had brought light into her life like no one else could. The rain had stopped, and the sky was clear, reflecting the peace that had settled in her heart. Friends, the cat and the Chow Chow are very different, but they are also very alike in many ways. They are both loyal, loving, and brave. They both need a lot of love and attention, and they both bring so much joy to the old woman's life. The cat and the Chow Chow are the best of friends, and I hope that their story has brought you happiness too. Goodbye.